This video is proudly sponsored by Meta PCs, who's having a huge Christmas sale. If you are looking to spend your Christmas money on a brand new PC, go to metapcs.com or use the link in the description box below and use code Boogie at checkout to get a nice discount. Merry Christmas. The review site aggregator known as Metacritic listed the 10 worst rated games of 2022, and this has inspired me to make my own list. But now, as you watch this list, don't forget, I am a neck-bearded gamer that takes video games a little too seriously. So if there's a game out there on this list that you enjoyed, I do not mean to yuck your yum, but these are the 10 games that disappointed me the most in 2022. The Postal series has always been kind of tongue-in-cheek, and with Postal 4, they set out to make fun of bad video games, but accidentally just made a bad video game. The graphics are bad, the gameplay is bad, the story is bad, everything about this game is bad, and it's just not even that fun. I have a juvenile sense of humor, and I enjoy juvenile things, but in this case, Postal 4 was too juvenile even for me. So if you don't enjoy the story, if you don't enjoy the gameplay, if you don't enjoy the physics, if you don't enjoy the graphics, why did they make this game? To make things worse, it launched in early access, and the finished product is not that great. So I feel like a lot of people bought into this hoping they were buying a great game, and instead ended up buying trash. Babylon's Fall could have been a good game, should have been a good game. Square Enix normally makes very good games like this, but something went severely wrong. People said that there were unpopulated worlds, boring combat, boring story, and of course this was an online-only game, and they took the servers offline in the same year they launched it due to nobody playing it. I feel like this game got released way too early, without enough work done to it. Maybe that's what happened, but ultimately Babylon's Fall fell as a game. Saints Row is one of my all-time favorite series, and 3 and 4 are some of my favorite games of all time. So when they announced that they were rebooting Saints Row, I was pretty interested, and I kept an eye on this game, but I wasn't willing to put my money down for pre-order, and I'm really glad I didn't. Because after taking a look at the gameplay, after taking a look at the characters, after taking a look at the stories, this is not my Saints Row. And it definitely feels like an old school game, which is what I think they were going for. But the problem is, if you're going to make a new Saints Row game, you should absolutely innovate, and there is no innovation here. I do think this game might be worth picking up on sale and just messing around if you can get it for like 10 or 15 bucks, but the fact that this game came out at full price was a bit of a crime and a severe disappointment. Scorn is yet another horror game that tried to get it right, but failed to do so. I mean, the game looks beautiful. It's a very interesting watch if you want to watch somebody else play it, but you definitely do not want to pay for this game because the shooting segments are subpar, the puzzles are mostly filler, and it's got a pretty weak story. This game just looked so good, and the very first time I saw a trailer for it, I genuinely thought this was going to be a masterpiece instead of the dumpster fire it actually turned out to be. Now, admittedly, this game is free on Game Pass right now, so if you have Game Pass, you can play it and experience the visuals, but if you're spending money on this, I highly do not recommend it. Wii Sports was amazing. We all look back fondly at Wii Sports, especially the bowling. So when they announced Nintendo Switch Sports, I think we were all a little bit excited. In the end, we were all very much disappointed. There were only 6 game choices here, and some of the game choices were really bizarre. And not only that, but at launch, golf was delayed. You could not play the golf version at launch. I think my biggest disappointment, though, however, is the fact that, well, the Wii version of bowling just feels better to me. I'd rather dig out my old Wii and play there than I would play Switch Sports, and I paid full price for this game. Truly one of the biggest disappointments for the game, mostly because I have to stand up to play it and I'm fat. Callisto Protocol was not on my radar at all, but this was called a spiritual successor to Dead Space by somebody in my live stream, and I decided I really wanted to give it a look. Unfortunately, when the reviews came in, everybody let us know that this was an extremely short game without much innovation in gameplay. It did not really do much to improve on the Dead Space genre, and that kind of stinks because I think that's what everybody was looking for. I mean, EA has not done a lot with Dead Space for a while, and they do have a remake coming out soon, so I feel like that's going to be beneficial for everybody who enjoys this genre. Unfortunately, Callisto Protocol was not. Pokemon Scarlet and Violet should have been an excellent game, and it's so disappointing that it was not, especially coming off of Pokemon Legends Arceus. I was excited when they said there was going to be like an auto battle feature. I was excited to go back to mainline Pokemon stuff, and as soon as I did, I realized this was a boring, slow slog of a game. It's fun to see these Pokemon again, it's fun to collect them, it's fun to see the new ones, but so much of this game either didn't work, or when it did work, was just extremely boring to me. I know eventually I'll go back and play this game after it's gotten a few patches and it runs better on my Nintendo Switch, but beyond that, I just cannot believe after Pokemon Arceus, this game came out in the state that it did, and was as boring as it was. This might be the very last time we get a Pokemon game like this, and I think that's for the better. Gotham Knights kind of broke my heart this year because I was excited for this game. I do love the Batman Arkham series, as most people do, and I thought a multiplayer version of that should be excellent. That's not what this game turned out to be. In fact, it was a huge downgrade from previous Arkham games, looking even worse than the first one. The graphics, the gameplay, the bugs, all of that took away from what should have been an interesting story with some of my favorite characters. And yes, I know some people were disappointed with Robin and Batgirl as choices for characters. No, I absolutely love those characters, and I just wanted this game to be excellent. It was far from it, and a huge disappointment for Arkham fans. It seems like every year there's a new Mario Kart clone that does its best to capture that audience, and when I found out there was going to be a Final Fantasy based one like Chocobo Grand Prix, this was interesting to me. I remember Chocobo racing in Final Fantasy VII as a way to pass my time as in-game content for that, and I'm a huge Final Fantasy fan, so I was expecting this game to at least be okay. But the lack of variety in terms of karts, in terms of power-ups, in terms of places to race was pretty frustrating. There is a good amount of variety in characters that you can play with, but they were locked behind microtransactions that I just absolutely refused to pay for. So this was not a game that I think I could recommend. And then finally, you knew this was going to be the #1 game on the list, and that is Diablo Immortal. Diablo 4 is coming out eventually, and that's a game I think we can all be excited for. But when it came to Diablo Immortal, the ridiculous amount of microtransactions and the tremendous amount of time that you would spend unlocking legendary items in this game made it unplayable and unfun. I very much felt like it was inspired by Diablo 3 at launch with the real money auction house, except this time you weren't buying from other people, you were buying from the game company itself. The gameplay looked fine, the gameplay in the world looked enjoyable, but I'm not going to play a game that expects me to spend money at the rate that this game expected me to pay. And I play Magic the Gathering, folks. You know when the microtransactions in a game is so bad that I compare it to Magic the Gathering, you know you done fucked up. And that's it. Those are the top 10 games that disappointed me in 2022. Was I wrong about any games? Were some of these games ones you loved? Are there games that should have been on this list that were not? Let me know in the comments section below. While you're down there, drop a like. And as always, thanks for watching. I love you very much, and I will speak with you again soon.